fuses then. Fuses. This one. Alright. So, is it on now? No. On. On, but it doesn't sound on. Okay. So what we've been doing is giving a summary. The summary is not on. Not on.
Now it's on.
Not on. Now it's on. Okay. What I'm trying to do is give us sort of an essence, a summary of the different stages of Buddhist teachings, all of which lead inexorably to the achievement of this Sangye, Buddha, this removing of all the rubbish from the mind and the developing of all the goodness. If you hear that, it's not complicated. It's not complicated. So what Buddha's saying simply is that in our mind, there are all these layers and layers and layers and layers of nonsense, misconceptions that have two, and misconceptions is the key word, which sounds very shocking to us if we think of emotions, because we don't think they're anything to do with thoughts. We think they're physical experiences, you know, and whatever, whatever. So the Buddha's view is so specific, and when we do understand this, we even understand a little bit technically, intellectually, many of the Buddha's views fall into place, you know. He's saying, in the mind, if you're an ordinary being, samsaric person, you know, in samsara, quote unquote, your mind, you've got in this mental consciousness of ours, there's this category of states of mind that he distinguishes as a unique category, whereas we give them equal status with all the other bits and pieces if they're normal parts of a normal person, but it's such a distinctly different view. That there are these neuroses, these delusions, these misconceptions, these disturbing emotions, these afflictions, these mental illnesses, these ridiculous states of mind to one degree or another. And this is, he's meaning not just humans, all sentient beings. There are many levels of sentience. And he said he has done the job of removing them utterly and completely from his mind. So that concept's weird, isn't it? We don't understand what that means. If we think of the brain, we think our brain is our mind, and we think that, yes, there's indeed evidence in the brain of, you know, we can locate the bits that relate to anger, maybe we can relate the bits that relate to depression, all the other parts of our physical components. And then you think that Buddha says you can get rid of all anger, that we have to go, well, you mean you've got to get rid of your brain? Or bits of your brain, you cut it out? Well, you know, we tried that in the 1930s. It's called lobotomies. It didn't work. So it's kind of, that's why it sounds like religious to us. It sounds like religion to us. It sounds mystical because it's just simply not the model we use. That's why the only way to hear it is to put aside. You know, Buddha might be ridiculous. He might be talking a load of rubbish, but you've got to find out. So the only way to hear the Buddhist one, like the only way to hear acupuncture, is put aside the allopathic. You can't squeeze it in and make them all fit. They're different models, different languages, different assumptions, different theories, different everything, you know. That's why, okay, the Dalai Lama is marvellous. All he's dealing with, you know, bringing together, looking to find ways we can see common ground. Fantastic. That's not the job I'm trying to do here, okay? That's not the job I'm trying to do. I'm trying to present Buddha's view to you. That's up to you to decide what to do with it. So your mind is not physical. It is beginnings and endless. It's not the handiwork of a creator or your mummy or daddy. It is not a function of the brain. In its nature, it's not physical. It's got grosser levels. It's got much subtler levels of cognition. That itself is abstract. But if you saw a person who had achieved single point of concentration, there would be no brain activity. They would look like they were dead. You'd bury them. They're not dead. They're a subtle mind. They're subtler level of consciousness. They have learned to access it using this skill. This skill has been around for 3,000 plus years. We can't just dismiss it as a but of idiocy. We're so rude in our modern culture, you know. It's astonishing. It's astonishing, sophisticated skill. So then it's there when you get that single point of concentration. The quality is astonishing. The results are astonishing. And the Hindus practically say that's what liberation is. Buddha says, no, way to go, baby. Now you've just got the subtle mind. Now you do the real job in the second mode, where now you can identify all the stuff in the mind, because it's only there subdued temporarily. And you can get to the root of it and unpack and unravel all of it. And then when we understand they're all conceptions, This is the key. Then you know how you can change a conception. And this is like a simple example. Please pass me the red thermos, Shahar. Don't be silly, Robina, it's blue. Oh, you're right. Okay. Do you accept that red thermos is a concept? Yes, right? Do you accept that blue thermos is a concept? Yeah, right? Thoughts in my mind. Thoughts. Well, it happens to be one of them is in sync with reality in this case. Would you agree?
Yeah.
A blue one. I go, oh, you're right, Charles. How silly of me. I just made a mistake, you know. Now, I did have for a moment a thought called red thermos in my mind, didn't I? So then now, what's happened to it now? I said to him, oh, you're right, of course it's blue. So what happened to the previous thought, please? This is a really simple question and it's a simple answer. What happened to the previous thought?
Gone. Deleted.
Gone, isn't it? And this is the point. What made it go?
It's been
The right
proven
one.
false.
What?
Saw it.
What?
The fact that it's false.
Keep it. Yeah, that's right. Seeing the truth. That's all. Can you hear that? Can you hear that? But not. I might say, "Are you sure it's blue?" Nah, come on. I might have doubt. When I'm certain it's blue, I've seen the truth. I've accepted it. Not believed it. Accepted. I've proved it. Just conventional truth. Then the other thought has gone away like a puff of smoke. That's what happens when you realise emptiness. The thought that's deep in your bones, it's a billion eons old, it's so primordial, it's created the universe. The thought, there is an inherent I. It comes down to being a label, a thought, but it's so primordial we don't think of it as a thought. Of course we don't. It's just completely instinctive. We've been believing it for eons and have built things on top of it. When you finally unpacked and unravelled the mind and got to the subtlest level of having thought and analysed and purified and analysed and purified and meditated and finally one day the penny drops and you see for the first time the absence, the truth. You see the truth that there isn't an inherent I. You see the truth. That is what makes the lie go. That's the realisation of emptiness. And that's the root of all samsara. That's the work you do on your mind before you get to emptiness. When you're trying to work on your mind, control your body and speech, now you step back and you start to look into your mind. So in my relationship with David, you know, I notice, this is the Buddhist approach. You know, the normal approach is, you know, how dare you look at that other girl? I didn't read. Oh, you did, I believe, because I've got a tendency to be jealous. But of course I believe he did. So even when I can prove he didn't, I'll feel embarrassed, won't I? Oh, because people can prove he didn't, let's say. And I feel a bit embarrassed, but I kind of feel it's not fair because he sort of might, you know. Even then I really can't take responsibility for my jealousy, can I? Because even though I can prove he didn't look. But let's say he does look at another girl, you know. Then it's like you're allowed to be jealous because I'm right. So there's no way in that case, that's part of the problem. There's no way I would want to look at my mind because he's right, he is looking at another girl. So then I'm saying I'm allowed to be jealous because he caused it. And that's how we think in our world. So I'm jealous. So when we go to my therapist, why do I get jealous? We've got back, perhaps this happened, that happened, your mummy must have done this and that. Then I choose crummy boyfriends, I keep choosing boyfriends and I get jealous. So they've caused me to be jealous. In general, they've caused me to be jealous. They've caused me to be jealous. Poor me, it's not fair, I get jealous. So again, why do I get jealous? My therapist, well, your mummy did it. I mean, I'm being a bit sarcastic because we know that also you look at your mind. We you know, we're always looking for the external cause, the external trigger, the cause out there, things that happened. I look at my brain, I look at the DNA. Like the latest Las Vegas guy, this latest maniac multi-murderer in America, you know, the 58 guys, the biggest mass murder, blah, blah, that one. Las Vegas, remember that guy now? Mm-hmm. They can't find any evidence in his behaviour, any evidence in his websites, any evidence anywhere for what he did. So they're looking at his brain to try and find it. They did that with the Columbine kids 20 years ago. Those two crazy kids, Columbine kids 20 years ago. A friend of mine whose son worked in the Justice Department in Denver or something. They didn't talk about it, but they snuck into the grave and got their brains out. Because I'm not being sarcastic, because of course we think the brain is the mind. It's okay, it's our model. So they're looking for a cause. That's okay, we all want causes. So of course we look in the brain, because that's what we think the mind is. I'm not being sarcastic. Of course you look there. And incidentally, they can't find evidence. Incidentally, they couldn't find any evidence in his parents. They were nice, white, Christian parents. So nobody can find what happened. So it's an utter mystery to us. So Buddha also looks in the past. He also says, yeah, let's look at the past here. But not in your mummy's past and daddy's past and grandma's and grandpa's back to the monkeys. Not that past. Which fits with our model, if it's physical. But into our own past, meaning our consciousness. So he says, that's fine, look at the past for why you do these things. Look into the past why he cheats on you, honey. It's past in your past actions that you did to him. That's all. It's not complicated. It's like him, Nia doesn't like it. You know, we don't like it. That's all we say. We don't say we don't like karma, we say we don't get it or something. Of course we don't get it. But that's, so Buddha looks in the past too for the cause of why. So there's two things. One, right now I have a tendency to be jealous. So without looking at karma, you don't need to. You can still work with your jealousy if you're brave enough to notice it's your own silly mind. Not silly, it's just a painful state of mind. You don't need to worry about where your mind is to do that. You don't need to worry whether you're made by God or your mummy or whether your mind is in your toenail. It doesn't matter. You can still, we all know we can change thoughts. This we actually agree with Buddha on, if we're brave enough. You get my point? We know we can do that. We know we can change my attitude and learn to look different things and find the way to change my emotions. We kind of know that. But all Buddha's doing is giving this extra big picture that explains not only why do I get jealous, my habit, but how come he does that to me? Because I've done it. Speaking simply, you know, we never say, you know, why am I so happy? Oh, a couple, why do good things happen to me? We never care why good things happen. We just want more. But why do bad things happen? This I find beyond fascinating, actually. It's really, we're quite stunning. You know, we're the ones who create the call, use the term deserve, you know. So for some reason, it's fascinating. This is using Buddhist model now of the mind. The way we tend to be in samsara, we tend to have a deep assumption that we deserve good things. And we have a deep assumption that we don't deserve bad. They're the words we use. Now, what do we mean by deserve means what? Deserve is related to some kind of cause, isn't it? I mean, if you look in your bank, you won't say, how dare there be no shekels in my bank? I deserve shekels. It's an assumption that someone should put there for you, isn't it? It's an assumption that someone does it to you, isn't it? That somehow somebody up there is shekel God and they forgot to give you a shekel. There's an assumption when you say deserve that other people should do it to you. Isn't there not? That's a deep assumption, isn't it? But I deserve it, meaning it should come from somewhere. Is it not true? We think this way. But we never think, we never worry about good things happening. We just deserve it. We assume we just take it for granted. Equally, you wouldn't look at the garden. How come there are no flowers in my garden? How dare there be weeds in my garden? I don't deserve weeds. We will not say that simply because we know that what's in the garden is the sum of my work. And if you've got flowers in your garden, you don't say you deserve them. You say you created them. Yeah, of course there's flowers in my garden. I worked really hard. You don't think deserve is an assumption of someone else giving it to you. I don't deserve. How dare you do that to me? I don't deserve it. There's an assumption there that someone's doing something to me that I didn't first cause. Now, if I punch him in the nose, then you seem to punch me right back. If I say I don't deserve that, you say, no, Robina, you do. I just saw you punch him. So when we say I deserve and don't deserve, there is an assumption that we think it should come from somewhere. Of course, we think it's from God or Mummy or somewhere, the universe or something. I don't know what. It's very interesting. That's an assumption we have. Well, using that terminology, using Buddha's view, we get what we deserve. You get the mother you deserve. You get the father you deserve. You get the money you deserve. You get the beauty you deserve. You get the ugliness you deserve. You get the rape you deserve. Hear the words. Don't be shocked. You get the weeds and the flowers you deserve. If you leave your garden for 10 years, I'm sorry, that's the garden you created. It's not even moralistic, it's practical. You get the dollars in your bank that you deserve. Thinking in the sense that our relationship to it is the fruit of my work or my absence of work. then that's reasonable. Well, Buddha says everything is the fruit of everybody's individual past. So we're all in the same boat, you know. So when we realise that, then of course you start taking responsibility. If you want money in your bank in 10 years, you better start saving now, honey. No one thinks you're weird. It's common sense. If you want flowers in your garden in 10 years, you better start planting them now. If you want happiness in the future, you better start causing it now. It's the same concept. That's all. But it's not just to think of happiness and suffering having causes, you know, that's all. We think we deserve them and don't deserve one lot and do deserve the other. But there's no difference. So, Buddha's answer to why did I get jealous, Buddha? Okay, the therapist's answer is because this happened, that happened, whatever. That's the ego's answer, I'm saying. But it's not fair. You know, poor me. Something has to happen which caused me to be jealous. So Buddha said, if you ask Buddha why are you jealous, he says because you've got a habit to be jealous, Robina. But why am I jealous, Buddha? Because you must have practiced it before. But why did I practice it before, Buddha? What happened? Because we're looking for a first cause. That's what the assumption is. We're looking for a first cause. He says, no, because you're jealous before. And you keep saying it until your first moment of conception, and then he says, you must have been jealous before. That's how come you're born with jealousy. And that's how come you're born with love and kindness and intelligence and riches and poor and all the rest. Because it's become imprinted, become fully programmed into this life at the first time of conception. What with? Not mummy, daddy, monkeys, grandmas and monkeys back then, not their stuff. No. That's the physical, yeah. But the mental's ours. Track that back. Track the mental back to your own past. Of course, who remembers? But who remembers most of your physical life? Don't be ridiculous, you don't remember it. We don't remember most of today. We don't remember the last part of the last 10 minutes. Most even goes one ear and out the other. So when you have that view, if you choose to take it on board, then already that view brings profound changes into your life. You see, what we don't realise is that already our mind is riddled with series of viewpoints and beliefs and assumptions. We just think what we think is the truth. Most materialists, philosophical materialists would say, oh, I don't believe in anything. That proves that whatever we do think, we think it's true. Because belief is something you've made up. Well, Buddha would suggest, I'm sorry, you're wrong. You believe your mother made you. You believe your mind's your brain. He argues, he's got another view. So he says that's pure old belief. But we all say it like it's the truth. Well, somebody's proved something, but you haven't done it. It's not true for you until you've proven it, you see. And Buddha says everything can be proved. Buddha's saying the mind has the capacity to know all existence. That's its job. So everything's knowable. By definition, everything that exists is knowable. So that's utterly practical, utterly empirical, Buddha says. So our mind is not physical. And he says, this mind has this potential to be absolutely free of delusions and absolutely full of all virtues. Logically, we can remove delusions because they're lies, they're misconceptions, so we have to see the truth. And the seeing of the truth is what annihilates the lies. And that's what liberation means, that's what nirvana means. And finally, Buddhahood, when it's combined with bodhicitta. And Buddha's saying this is natural. And if you can prove it to be wrong, he's very happy. It's okay. It's up to us. So the job is to remove the delusions from the mind. That's the essence, the essential job. Because these lies are so primordial and so ancient, so primordial and so deep, they're layers, you know, layers upon layers, like onion, levels and levels and levels. This is based on this assumption, which is based on that assumption, which is based on this assumption, which is based on that assumption. And the root assumption is an inherent I. The root assumption is an inherent, independent, real I from its own side. That's the root assumption, the root misconception. And you can't rip that out first. You've got to deconstruct the other lies, the easier ones first, which are already difficult. And this leads to the seeing of the root assumption, the misconception. That's the crucial point that Buddha's making in the psychological model, which initially is quite a shock to us. That all the stuff that for us is virtually instinctive, the grasping at things as permanent, the grasping at things as, you know, getting angry, getting jealous, getting depressed, all these emotions, we call them emotions, and we even think they're physical experiences, and the body is involved. But that's the tip of the iceberg for the Buddha. The physical experience when we are angry is just the tip of the iceberg. That's not anger itself, but because of this relationship, the way they talk in the Vajrayana, the body and mind are so interconnected. So when your mind is angry, the mind is, disturbed, that it affects those wind energies, which is what causes all that physical feelings. All the emotions, the crying, the heart beating, the yelling, the shouting, hysterical, the eyes wide, the tears coming out the, crazy, irrational words pouring out the mouth. I mean, you're having a serious mental breakdown, actually. We say, oh, they're angry, look, they're angry. So all these conceptions coming, all these conceptions, assumptions in your mind, which come from attachment not getting what it wants, which comes from the root delusion of the I in the first place. So these lies, layers and layers and layers and layers of misconceptions. But so primordial, it's like a joke to call them misconceptions, because they're all virtually instinctive. And why are they instinctive? Because we practice thinking them for countless lifetimes until they're completely natural. Instinctive is just the result of having thought and done something that often that it's completely spontaneous. There's no longer seemingly any volitional process, but it's all volitional, but it's just spontaneous. Every habit we indicate is from the habit of doing that kind of thing before. So that there's a certain kind of monkey, I remember reading about a certain kind of monkey or ape or something, or chimp or something, that's very attached to sex, extremely extra attached to sex. So the minute it's born, the little boy monkey, it turns around and has sex with his mummy. No wasting time. And then daddy and the sisters and the brothers and the aunties and the uncles and even the enemies. Who knows? Very strong habit from having done it before. The fisherman. He's got a habit to kill. The little boy. He meets the scenario called fishing. It triggers the memory, basically, triggers the karmic seed. The memory of it, which is very there, the meeting of it triggers it. Then delicious feeling occurs. Instantaneously, and that's what we want, delicious feelings. And then attachment then instantly comes in and exaggerates how fantastic it is, and then because we want the good feelings again, we have to keep fishing. And we naturally deduce that fishing must be good, because we get good feelings. This is something interesting, because in this third category of states of mind, I like to call them mechanics, one of the always present states of mind, discrimination, intention, attention, contact, and the fifth one is called feeling. So that's used very specifically in Buddhist psychology. There's only three kinds of feeling. One that's called a pleasant feeling or a happy feeling. One is an unpleasant feeling or a suffering feeling. Feeling is mental, connected to the body, it's clear. And one is a neutral feeling. Well, forget the neutral, never mind them. In our life, as far as we're concerned, the bottom line is, as far as we can see, and this is Buddha's view, everybody desperately wants the good feelings and everybody desperately doesn't want the bad feelings. And he says that's the universe. We're all like that. We all want happiness and don't want suffering. Suffering is bad feelings and happiness is good feelings. So there's variations of these, and there's a spectrum of these. We can see that. So this is what drives every single thing. So attachment's job, attachment's the boss here. Attachment's job, this frantic, desperate, bottomless pit of emotional hunger, which is what attachment is its job is to constantly look and find things, objects, events, people, ideas, whatever, such that when we have contact with them, they will trigger a good feeling. That's how we spend our lives. That's called samsara. And we judge whether something is good or bad on whether or not it brings a good feeling. That's it. That's samsara. And Buddha says it's beyond tragic, because we're following delusions. And because the habits are so primordial, we believe. So the fisherman, blind as a bat, never, even though he's a kind boy, his mother said, a nice man, kind and generous, he literally never was able to see that the fish was suffering, because he had his own series of projections called attachment and happy feelings and past habit, karma. So he never saw suffering. I mean, I saw, we can see this in the world, everywhere. I remember on the television one time an interview with one of these Inuits, like we used to call Eskimo, whose habit is to bash the baby seals to death for breakfast, right, or dinner, or whatever, their oil, their furs, whatever, in their culture. It's culture, it's culture. And so because we think culture's so special, we do it because it's culture, you know, so you don't try to insult culture. But that's due to, you know, he bashed the baby seals to death. He was almost in tears. These rude animal rights people daring to criticise his culture, you know. This is what my father did. That's what my grandfather did. Well, he, due to his past karma of killing, and in particular bashing, you know, quite intense to bash a baby seal to death, because of the habit and because it's his projection and because he's trying to make Daddy happy and everybody happy, he literally doesn't see that the seal is suffering. When we understand this, it's quite humbling. That means we can see our pathetic attachment habits and realise how we harm others on the basis of those. We mightn't bash baby seals to death, but we harm others on the basis of our attachment, because attachment is just junky to get what I want every second, which is the good feelings. That's due to his habit. So he couldn't see the suffering. The torturer can't see the... Intellectually, the torturer knows that, you know, the people look like they're suffering, but he can't stop because the habit is so intense. The habit is primordially intense. So attachment's like a honey-covered razor blade. It looks like it's nice. But the fisherman, due to attachment to killing, can't see the suffering he's causing. And that's the killer about good feelings. The relationship between good feeling and attachment is completely fundamental. Due to the past karma of whatever it is we do, we come into this life, we're attracted to music, attracted to food, attracted to sex, attracted to whatever it might be. We just go, oh, that's natural. But no, it's past habit, that's all. So the little boy who cried with compassion, we can deduce he must have had a vow not to kill, and he's practiced having compassion for sentient beings. That was what spontaneously arose in his mind, not accidental. His mother hadn't taught him. This other little boy, the fisherman, his mother hadn't taught him. Past habit. And the tragedy is something like fishing and all the things we do that harm others, like people who like sex will jump on people. Even if you don't rape. Even if we don't rape, we misuse, we seduce people to get in their pants, isn't it? Basically. Looking like we're being nice. It's usually the thing that you know, the classic one of women being offended by men who look like they like them and just get in their pants and say goodbye. That idea. You understand? We feel offended and say, I thought he liked me. Well, naturally, you don't want to, unless you're a rapist, you've got to use nice methods to get sex, isn't it? Otherwise the person's going to resist you. You've got to seduce a person. That's what we do with attachment, you know. It looks nice. It looks like it's a honey-covered razor blade. So we might go around raping and killing and bashing baby seals to death, it's true. But we still, the way we harm others is because of our attachment, it's pretty clear. And then indeed on top of attachment, when it doesn't get what it wants, that's anger. That's obvious that we hurt people. That's clear. But the baby seal killer, he wasn't angry with the baby seals. The fisherman's not angry with the fish. There's attachment and just habit. And look at fishing. I mean, that's torture. Fish die an agonising death. I've got a Lithuanian uncle. I think he was a Nazi. He was, you know, Australia. This is very funny. Australia's got a funny history. Australia's got this white Australia policy they had since 1901. They decided they wouldn't let foreigners in. They wanted to learn from the mess that Americans made, having all these races coming together. I mean, also they tried to chuck out the poor. They did chuck out. They tried to wipe out the Aborigines. I mean, it's pretty intense. And they tried to chuck out all the Pacific Islanders, the blacks, and the Chinese who'd come for the gold in the 1800s. They tried to chuck them out to get nice, pure English race again. You know, I mean, Australia's funny. It's got a terrible history. It's got a good reputation. It's very odd. Anyway, it was a very big country. It's bigger than America. And at that time, even before the war in the 30s, when they were starting to expand and get infrastructure to this massive country with about 8 million people, you know, 10 million people or something. It was like ridiculous. They couldn't have enough workers. And they were all, you know, except for the poor Aborigines who were being knocked off and slaughtered, they were the white people, and they were mostly English. At that time, almost completely English. Completely English. Maybe some Irish. You know. So the policy was to keep having English, so they did all these plans to seduce the English to come. They gave them 100 acres, but they discovered they came, the poor things, it was in the desert, you know, so they went back home all disappointed. Then they had a policy, they called it, that, you know, you could come, an entire family could come to Australia for £10. So they were desperate to get the English to come. Then, when the war came, they still didn't have enough people, so they started lowering, and I'm serious, they started lowering their expectations, and after the war, they let in all the Eastern Europeans. Well, that meant the Nazis. my uncle, Stasis Arkanshauskas, my auntie Robina Bliss became Robina Arkanshauskas.